if it's an easy one to do. Notification. Call is live. The notification squad. I gotta go get some weed. There needs to be some weed. Sobriety, no. Sobriety, no. Don't do it, sobriety. Why are you making me think about all kinds of things I'm supposed to be doing, sobriety? Sobriety, please. All right. Well, there we go. Sobriety handled. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. People already getting timed out. People already acting up. People already whiling. We just started. I'm ashamed. Ashamed of all of you. Hello, Diggy. You want to go inside or you want to stay out here with me? I think you want to stay out here with me. I'm going to make that mind up for you. I'm going to make that mind up for you. Ooh, ah. All right. I'm watching the Highdeology from 2 days ago. I can't keep up with you. Sorry, bro. Sucks to be you. I don't know what to tell you. I don't really think this is a show that you're meant to catch all of them. You know what I mean? If you see one live, you pop in. It's just the way it is.
Dinor is anything but smart.
Yeah. Dinor's not smart. What kind of jam do I like? Like blackberry jam is pretty good. Raspberry jam. I like jam. How do you keep your house heated? With a heater? How do you keep your house heated? I'm personally glad Paul's been so productive about these streams. Feel like a friend just called me up, wants to let me listen to the coolest conversations around. Oh, how nice. How nice. I don't know if I have much cool conversation today. I guess we'll see. We'll see where it goes. Toot. Toot. Here comes the train. Here comes the train. You ever had to cut out family this year over polarization of the election? I had to cut most of my family out. Nah, dude. I don't cut family out over politics. Politics ain't worth cutting family out. Like, the worst I'll do is just stop talking politics with family, you know, if it gets crazy. But you don't, like, ditch out on your family because of Donald Trump or whatever. It's just stupid. It's like ditching out of your family over, like, a football game or some shit. It's like, no. No, you don't do that. You just don't. TJ said good things about you last night on his patron stream. Oh, how nice of him. What did he say? I want to know. When I'm paid a compliment, I like to know. What did he say? Cloud Massacre, thank you for your 99 cents as always. Do a train impression? I think there's a train switching tracks down there. Because I heard him blow his horn like he was approaching, but I think that there's a junction a few miles up that way. And I think that's what's going on. Said he had one of the best convos of his life with you under the lemon tree. That's true. Had like a 2-day conversation. That is true. My grandpa and grandma didn't want to see my mom and me and my brother anymore 2 years after his death. I was 13. That sucks, bro. TJ said you were self-aware about your obstinance. Of course. I mean, of course I am. Like, I know myself. I may not know anything else, but I know myself. And yeah, I'm an obstinate, hard-headed person who vigorously defends his position and sometimes to his own detriment, but I'm aware of that. I'm aware of the repercussions of that, and that's okay. I'd rather be that than someone who's so reserved that nobody knows what they think about anything, you know? Or somebody that's so ready to capitulate that they roll over on their own principles all the time, you know? So then at what point does politics and keeping family around breach into not being healthy? Like, if they ask you, and I was right too, this train's going real slow. You had to do a little interchange, is what I think. He's chugging very slow. Choo choo. I hope he blows his horn at least once. Come on. Blow your horn. You don't want to do it for me? Damn. You're president for 5 minutes. You have time for one executive order. What do you do? Publicly funded campaigns. Ban dark money in campaigns. Limit campaign contributions to small donations from individuals. Eliminate campaign contributions from corporate entities. Publicly fund campaigns. So with government money, with taxpayer money, yes. You could change one thing about the film industry, what would it be and why? I would break the stranglehold that like 2 or 3 major studios have on most of the studio films that are released. And, crack open access for indie filmmakers and dreamers and stuff to really get the good shit out there. It's harder and harder these days. More and more of Hollywood is conglomerated under just a handful of studios. Universal, Viacom, which I think is purchased by Sony now. You know, there's like maybe 5 movie studios that are independent of one another. There's a lot of smaller subsidiary studios that are, you know what I mean? Viacom is CBS now. Oh, well, there you go. Oh, thank you, baby. Oh, thank you. You're so sweet. Got a little breakfast. Got a little breakfast. So everyone has an equal footing. The only thing differentiating the candidates would be their policies. Yeah. Isn't that crazy? Like, people could vote on the actual policies and not on who got the most money. TJ and Paul under the lemon tree is the modern version of Buddha and Mara under the tree of wisdom. Dude, it was. There's a lot more marijuana in the newer story, but otherwise it's pretty much the same thing. If you could rid the making and history of the great films of the last century, if it meant they wouldn't have horrible remakes and sequels, would you do it? No, of course not. It's not worth erasing a beautiful, wonderful film just because Hollywood decided to wipe its ass with it and make a remake. You just ignore the remake. I mean, that's 99% of the time that's what I do. I don't watch remakes of films that I really respect. And when I do, I typically hate them, but it doesn't like cloud up the meaning of the original to me.
Except 12 Angry Men, that remake was dope.
Well, yeah, sometimes remakes are dope. Like the 99% of them that suck, every once in a while 1% of them come around and you're like, "Okay, well, cool." But the vast majority of them suck. Except for Dune. Dune is different though, cuz like Dune is like it's based on a non-movie property. So I don't really consider Denis Villeneuve's Dune to be a remake of David Lynch's Dune. I consider it to be like a reinterpretation or whatever of the book. The Thing, yeah, another good example of a good remake. They're out there, you know. It's just few and far between. Here's another one that actually had a pretty good remake, mostly because it changed the tone of the film so much. Was Fright Night. So Fright Night was this kind of scary comedy horror film from the 80s about a kid who notices that the guy that moved into the house next door is a vampire and nobody believes him. And they took that kind of comedic concept with the horror, with a dash of horror, and turned it into a straight horror film. And I thought it was pretty good, honestly. Like it has a completely different tone than the original. It's like when you're gonna remake a film, I really feel like you ought to try and do it that way. An example of a film that didn't do that and that ended up being good is 12 Angry Men, like Amelia brought up. Didn't really change the tone of the film much, just kind of updated it and got really great actors to do it again for the most part. But that doesn't work for most films. Most films need a reinterpretation. They need a new vision. I'm becoming G-Time Johnny. Why is that a bad thing? G-Time Johnny lives up in the mountains somewhere and, like, lives free. It should be envious of G-Time Johnny. The remake of The Ten Commandments is a great film. Okay, sure. I don't think so, but whatever you say. We haven't got any good vampire movies lately. The concept is kind of played out. Like people have had a hard time coming up with new ways to present vampires, because we've gotten the old school Bram Stoker's Dracula vampires. We've gotten numbers of those. Then we've gotten the modern take on the vampire. We've gotten the good guy vampire. We've gotten, you know what I mean, the action vampire.
Barkley.
Yeah. We got all the vampires, like what other? Yeah, Barkley. Yeah, the dog vampire. It's been done. You know what I mean? It's hard to find another angle on the vampire. It hasn't been explored.
It doesn't make them pussies.
True that. We need a vampire that wants to save humanity. We already had that. His name is Blade. He's a half vampire, half human daywalker that can walk in the sun. Has all the strengths of a vampire, but none of their weaknesses, and he fights them for humanity, to save humanity from them. We already have it. Paul, TJ's starting an OnlyFans. When is yours coming? When pigs fly out of me arse, then I'll start me OnlyFans. Is TJ really gonna do an OnlyFans? That's fucking hilarious, dude.
I didn't see the stream last night, so I don't know.
Dude, that's fucking hilarious. I'm gonna join just so I can fucking make fun of him for his OnlyFans, dude.
You don't have to make a porn OnlyFans. You can just.
Yeah, what do they do? Like, what else can you do?
You can just post normal videos, normal pictures.
So I could do this, but on OnlyFans and make people pay for it? I thought OnlyFans was just for porn. I thought it was just for nudes.
No, I mean, that's what most people use it for, but you might have to.
Well, then I'm not gonna join TJ's OnlyFans until I find out if it's like a porn OnlyFans or not. Because if it's like a 24/7 hot oil ball dipping OnlyFans, I'm there. I'm all over that OnlyFans. Isn't that what Patreon is for? Is it? Do people have porn Patreons?
Yeah. You got lewds.
I didn't think Patreon allowed porn.
I know. They don't do like hardcore, but like you can draw like hentai and you can like be sexy but not titties out.
I see. I didn't know. Can I tell you guys something that like concerns me about this generation? Porn is moving backwards. Porn is going back instead of advancing and getting cooler and more accessible. It's like we're going back to the days where you had to pay for porn. Like, this is a coup d'etat. We can't let this happen. Paying for porn? No, I actually like the fact that, like, people are making money, you know, like, just doing something that probably makes a lot of them feel good about themselves, like showing off their bodies and stuff. And, like, that's kind of cool to me. That it's no longer, like, an industry where you have to be, like, a porn star to be in porn. It's because the porn industry is horrifically exploitative and induces sexual and assault and shit. Induces it? I don't know about that. I mean, I don't know if you can credibly claim that like watching porn induces somebody to go sexually assault anybody. I mean, I guess within the porn industry there is a lot of sexual assault that happens and shit.
Who was that dude that just got busted?
Ron Jeremy. He's got like 16 counts of forcible rape or some shit. He's going away forever. But yeah, I mean, the porn industry has been seedy and bad for a long fucking time. I'm gonna eat this tangerine that's sitting here staring at me looking all tasty. Staring at me looking all tasty.
Don't worry, it's not the tree one. It's
okay. I figured it wasn't. I've looked at the little tangerines on our little tree, and this is not the area for tangerines. Let's just put it that way. They're not doing well over there.
Look at Dynor being brave.
Getting all warm, huh? It's a delicious tangerine. Healthy. Yeah. You ain't seeing the train. I ain't stupid. They write states on the side of trains and shit. I ain't stupid. Chugga, 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 whoop, whoop. This coffee is so good.
Yeah.
Why is it so good?
I don't know. It was cold, so I heated it up real hot, so that might have helped.
Coffee shouldn't be this good.
It's just real hot.
It's good. Well, that's what it is. It's got to be. Coffee got to be hot. I'm not a cold coffee guy. Well, I get cold chai when I do my Starbucks orders once a year that we go to Starbucks. But yeah, cold coffee ain't for me. Amelia's the coffee queen. Yeah, that's true. Your voice sounds better. Is the mic you used for the show, or were you sick? I was not sick. We're living in an area where the climate is drier than it was where we used to being for the last, well, for Amelia, 1.5 years, for me, 3 years. We were living in one of the moistest climates you can find on American soil, and now we're living up in the mountains where the air is cold and dry. And that can cause, like, you know, scratchiness in your throat, phlegm buildup, post-nasal drip, and all that shit.
Okay, I gotta get distilled water for that humidifier.
Oh, yeah. True that. I have to order some. We know where you are. Oh, yeah? Why don't you take a guess and get banned? Have the courage of your own convictions, sir. Don't subtweet me. Go ahead and throw a guess out there and watch what happens to you. Hey, Paul, should I do one nicely sized bowl or 5 to 7 one-hitters? Depends. That's a good question. There's sometimes where I like to be really in control of, like, exactly how much weed I take in. So I want to get to a certain level of high. And your one-hitters are for that, right? So you grind up a bunch of weed. Not a bunch, but enough to get 5, 6 one-hitters, and then you pack. You dust. You pack, you dust. You see how you feel. Pack, you dust. You get about 3 in, and you take stock, and you go, okay, am I where I want to be? If not, pack, you dust. If you don't really care about how high you get, packing a big fatty bowl is the way to go for me. Because, I don't know. You're not really concerned about your consumption or whatever. I will tell you that this is not the way to regulate your weed consumption. Like, these little things are, like, unless you're just, like, Amelia will put on my indica cart and take...
Dee, quiet! Dinor, come back!
Dinor, come here. What is this? Why you gotta be such a barker?
It's joggers.
He's like joggers.
Exercise.
Yeah. He doesn't
Dee,
want...
come here.
He's never seen Dad do it, so he doesn't... He thinks it's a weird... Thinks it's a weird thing.
Come on.
How long are you going to grow your beard and hair? As long as it'll go. I think this is about as long as my beard gets. So every beard, every head hair has a terminal length. And this is, I believe, about the terminal length of my beard. Maybe a little, it might get a little longer. My hair, I don't know. I don't know when that's going to stop. But I'm not cutting my hair anymore. So I'll go get it trimmed every once in a while to, get the split ends taken care of or whatever the fuck. But I ain't doing it. Are you scared of heights? Yes. Who's out here running for no reason? How dare you? That coffee's so good. Holy shit. What happens? Chat just went ploop. How does THC from a cartridge feel like? Like a dab. It's a quicker, cleaner high than sitting and smoking all day. It's like a dab. You do a Santa impression? I used to play Santa. Are you kidding? Back when I was with the school district, I was the official school district Santa. Went around to several different classes, or not classes, but schools. My favorite place to go was the little preschool. They had a migrant preschool out there, and those kids were so, like, it was kind of sad, but in that holiday way where it's sad, but it has a happy ending, because a lot of the kids that were at the little migrant preschool out here, their parents don't have the money to even take them into town to see a Santa, let alone get them a bunch of presents. And so when I went to the little migrant preschool, they would give me, like, some books to give to the kids and shit. Carts are literally just dabs that have a chemical added that turns solid wax into a fluid flowing oil for anyone who doesn't know. Yeah. This is true. They usually have propylene glycol added or vegetable glycerin. It's the same thing that they add as a base for vape juice. And they mix that with wax and make kind of a really thick but viscous kind of like fluid. You can see like when I tip my vape pen, it doesn't, like the liquid doesn't move immediately. It's very, very thick. Boof it. Boof it. Suck it. Stroke it. They need like a porn bop it. Fuck it. Suck it. Stroke it. Jerk it. Thoughts on Pearl Jam's 10? I was never a big Pearl Jam fan. I never really, I couldn't get past Eddie Vedder's voice. Like they've got some, like his voice sounds great in some of their songs, like, but for me, like it just, his mumbliness gets on my fucking nerves. It works for some songs, like Do the Evolution. Like he sounds great in that. Paul, can you imagine how differently your life would have gone if you never got fat? How differently it would have gone? I don't know, man. That's a good question. When you're a fat kid for as long as I've been, it really does change your tact about life. So I'm sure my life would have been different in some ways. It's hard to imagine how, though. I probably wouldn't be half as funny as I am, so I probably wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. You've got a couple of defenses as a fat kid in school. You can either be funnier and quicker than the people who make fun of you for being fat, or you can be a recluse who pretends not to hear anybody. Those are really what your ways of getting through school as a fat kid, or at least when I was a kid. I don't know, maybe it's better now. I kind of doubt it because kids are cruel as fuck, but when I was a kid, like, you know, those were your choices as a fat kid. You could be funnier and quicker than the people who are making fun of you for being fat and beat them to the punch by telling a self-deprecating joke or finding a way to make fun of them while making fun of yourself, which is the route that I went. Or you can just be a silent person, you know what I mean, that never goes and never sits with anybody and never has any friends, and that, you know, that kind of sucks. That extends to ugly. Well, I mean, I don't subscribe to this concept of human ugliness. You know what I mean? I've seen some people that have features that are considered by the wider, you know, American public to be better than other features. I've seen some people that have big noses or skin problems or something, but those people are not unattractive by default for me. I don't really believe in ugliness. Now, there are some people that are really unfortunate looking. You know what I mean? There's a, you know, it does happen. I'm not going to tell you that there's no such thing as ugly. I just don't like the word ugly because it feels even worse than making fun of somebody that's fat, because people that are fat, some of them, most of them, have a limited control over that. They could be not fat if they really tried hard, but being ugly is like what did you choose it? Did you choose to have the unibrow or the nose that's crooked or the, you know what I mean? No. Whatever it is that people think makes you ugly. I just don't like looking at people like that. It makes me feel bad about myself to look at people like that. To like go, oh, that's an ugly person. You know what I mean? It's fucked up. Like, that's a human being. You know? I know people think that same shit about me, and it would hurt my feelings if people said it to me or said it around me and I overheard it, you know? And so I don't want to be that. Some of those popular kids in my school were chubs or uggos. The people who got bullied were either annoying, autistic, or sadly both. Yeah, sure. I don't know. I mean, it's different probably now. I wasn't. It's been fucking 30 years since I was in school, so Well, a little less than 30, but you get my drift. It's been a long time. Hey, Paul, dating a girl who's super into musicals and theater, liking it more than I thought I would. Any good recommendations for me to watch? I mean, if you haven't seen a live performance of Sweeney Todd, I would go and find one of those on YouTube. If you're talking about musical theater, I would try and stay away from the movie adaptations of musical theater productions. Now, there are a few exemptions to that rule. The '80s remake of Little Shop of Horrors is great. I'm trying to think of another movie adaptation of a musical that's okay. Grease, the old '70s Grease, is a pretty good movie adaptation of Grease. Rent, yeah. I, I've seen the play. I've seen the show. I haven't seen the movie, but yeah. Young Frankenstein, Bye Bye Birdie. I was in Bye Bye Birdie. I had a bit role in it my freshman year. Trying to remember all of the plays that I've been in, and it's kind of tough. But I've been in a lot of shows, especially if you could if you count Shakespeare shows, which I don't know why you would discount them. So I had a bit role in Harvey, which is a great show, by the way. It's not a musical, but it's a play. I had a bit role in Harvey. I had a bit role in Steel Magnolias. I had a bit role in Bye Bye Birdie. I think that was my freshman year. I had a supporting role in Grease my sophomore year. And then I had a supporting role in Little Shop of Horrors. I think that was the next. I don't know. It gets all fucking whacked out for me. I'd have to look. If I went through all my old shit, my mom kept all the programs for my plays and shit. But there was Little Shop of Horrors. What else? The Odd Couple, Our Town. I played the narrator in Our Town. That's the biggest role I've ever had in my life. It's like a small novel worth of dialogue that I had to memorize. Never played Nick Bottom in Midsummer. I never got to play anybody in Midsummer's Night's Dream. Unfortunately, it's a great play. It's a great show. It's a lot of fun, but no, I never got to play anything in Midsummer. I got to play Toby Belch in Twelfth Night, or As You Like It, whichever one you prefer. I had to play Caliban in The Tempest, and a few other bit roles in Shakespearean plays. You played Oberon. That's cool. That's a cool role. What was your most reoccurring role? I never really did a reoccurring role. Well, that's not true. I was in a show called Canyon Suite that we did that got picked up for what's called the Irene Ryan Scholarship competition. So we did a whole run of the show, and then we found out that Irene Ryan picked us up, and we went to Utah to perform it and hold a whole second run of it. I had a supporting role in that show as well. Are there any of your shows recorded? Would pay good money to watch those. I think there are, honestly. I think that my teacher Ginger used to have her husband VHS record our shows. The audio on them is horrible, but I know that they're out there somewhere. I could probably hit her up the next time I'm visiting town. Like when I go to visit my parents next, I'll try and hit Ginger up and see if she's got any of those old tapes. If she does, I'll try and dub them over. But yeah, no, I know that they exist, but I hear some Credence. Somebody's playing Fortunate Son. Somebody's rocking out today. That's cool. Somebody's rocking out today. You're streaming day and night. Well, I mean, recently I have been. I just got done moving, and I went through a long stretch where you guys still saw me on shows and shit, but I didn't get to stream. I didn't get to do anything. And I'm in a place where it really, like, supports me being able to stream because I've got privacy on privacy now. I used to like doing outdoor streams, but I lived in an apartment complex, so, you know, I didn't want to sit out there for hours and hours every day saying things that maybe I didn't want other people to hear. Now I don't have to worry about that. I can just sit out here and... Yeah, somebody's rocking out. To get where I'm going in the sunshine of your love. Wow, 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 wow. Yeah, dude, somebody's rocking out over there. That sounds like a neighbor I could be friends with. Yep, good old Cream. Pretty much anything plus bonfire is a good time. Kind of making me jealous I can't play my own music. I'd get copyrighted. I'd get beamed if I played my own music. Paul, which core values do you feel guide you the most? It's a tie between truth and temperance for me. I think the reduction of human suffering and the reduction of misery in general across all species is probably the most guiding central tenet to my personal philosophy. Did you hear about the supermassive black hole in our galaxy getting closer and closer to us each second now? Cool. A black hole? That'll be a dope way to go. I don't know how quick a black hole death would be. Would we get to see it coming? That'd be dope. It's like a big black spot in the sky that gets bigger every day. Fuck yeah. Sounds dope to me. If we're lucky, it'll be here in a few million years. Yeah, we won't. We won't. That'll be up to the roaches or the dolphins or the fish or whatever. Whoever takes our little evolutionary spot. We'll be long gone in a million years. It would actually be a very bright spot due to the event horizon. Cool science. Didn't know that. I guess that makes sense though, because it's absorbing all light, right? So it wouldn't appear as a big black spot. It would appear as a big, bright, shiny spot, right? Because it's sucking all the light into it. You look homeless. 5 minutes alone, and you'd be hot. Huh? Huh? Say what, Sonny? You'll have to speak up. The train makes it hard. After my DMT trip last night, the message I've been listening to from you, Daniel Quinn, and Derek Jensen finally crystallized in my head, and I was able to tell my friends about it without preaching. That's cool. Yeah. I mean, I'm telling you, man, psychedelics are a window to perceptual change, at the very least. It would look like a dark spot which has a ray of light around it, kind of like the moon going in front of the sun, but much brighter. Neat. Yeah, I think being a train conductor would be pretty cool. It might get old after a while, but it seems like it would be a pretty cozy job in general. Banana nut bread. The second part of my breakfast. Dude, that's the best shit. Gross, who nutted in the bread? Yeah, good one. Good one, Broseph. Any advice for a 20-year-old whose parents are dead, the rest of his family are toxic, and is living on your own? Also, I just got my license today. Uh, yeah. Uh, dude, I don't know, man. There's a scary aspect to the position that you're in, and there's also a very free aspect of the position that you're in. There's a movie. It's a Paul Thomas Anderson film called The Master, and it's about a guy. I'm not going to compare you to him because he's incredibly flawed, Freddie Quell, who is kind of like you. He doesn't have those connections, and he's more of a drifter, and he likes being that. He likes the fact that he's not tied to any one place. So you could look at it positively from that aspect. You're not tied anywhere. You can live very frugally in most places in this country, at least. I don't know if you're in the United States or not, but you can live very, very frugally indeed, and that makes the world your oyster. Basically, you can stay where you please, work how you please. Yeah, this is part of Thanksgiving leftovers here. This is the last little chunk of the loaf of banana bread that Amelia made. Good shit. Always eating good foods, has an awesome wife. Why so droomer then? I'm not the one that self-applied that label. That label got applied to me. I don't think I'm a fucking doomer at all. I think if you listen to the philosophical talks that I have here on this show and on Deep Fat Fried when the topics come up and allow for it, I think I'm a wild, crazy, fucking insane, over-the-top optimist when it comes to the possible futures that humanity has laid out before it. I just don't buy into the everything's going to be all right side of optimism. I buy into the we need to reorient ourselves towards this side of optimism, and if we do, we can do better. You know, one of the things I had to get used to being on the internet, being a somewhat public figure or whatever, a minor public figure, is that people are going to label you how they want to label you. You know, and the more you fight against it, the more, for some folks at least, it proves that you are what they say you are. Like, you know, I could say I'm not a fucking doomer all day long, and it's like a lot of people take that as, oh, just denial, man, just denial. He's in denial, y'all. If I thought of myself as a total fucking doomer, I'd tell you. You know, I just don't. I just don't think of myself that way. Paul, what are the things you look forward to in society in terms of better technology or ways of living? Well, I mean, like I'm a mini minds on this, right? I'm not 100% sure that our constant pursuit of better technology is good for the planet. And you know, the evidence of that is all around us, right? The phone that I'm doing this stream on is filled with coltan and gold that was mined in Africa. A lot of it mined via slave or child labor in Africa. We're talking, you know, blood diamonds, but not diamonds. The coltan that is used in almost every cell phone is unethically mined. So while we have this beautiful little device here that we can access all the world's information with and communicate with one another, the cost of that is the rape of the planet, the rape of indigenous populations, the rape of the third world. And so, on one hand, I'm very skeptical about the future of technology. On the other hand, I see it as a possible liberator. I mean, technology has solved a lot of humanity's problems. Well, solved humanity's problems while causing them, right? So the agricultural revolution solved the problem of hunger and scarcity for humanity, but it also became a canker sore on the planet. It became a destructive monoculture that supplanted forests with farmland and fueled the propagation of ever larger cities, denuded the landscape of more and more natural resources until we are where we are now, where there are so very few wild spaces left in most of the civilized, quote unquote, world that it's almost a joke. These places have become like little tourist destinations rather than just the wild, open, free spaces that they should be. And all of that is because of our technology. Our technology bought us that, right? Certainly, the agricultural revolution is a great example of a leap in technology for the human race. We no longer have to scrabble and pick berries. Now we bring the berries to us. Now we can create berries so numerous that they could feed our family and 10 other families. And then commerce happens. And then people start looking at the land instead of a supportive home. They start looking at it like dollar bills, commerce. If I have this chunk of land, I can have control over this commodity. And here we are, thousands of years later after the agricultural revolution, and we've denuded most of the wild places on this planet of their biological diversity, their natural resources. And there's so very few left, and they're burning and being slashed and clear cut in favor of monoculture as we speak. Today, probably 10 species of animal will disappear from the planet forever. And that's all the cost of our technology, right? We're doing this. I know we're destroying biospheres everywhere on the planet, but what gets me in the doomer mood in particular is what's happening to our oceans. Well, that's the thing, is like the damage that's happening to the oceans is so very rarely visible. We can see it here on the land, right? We can go to what used to be a rainforest and see a slashed and burned clear cut as far as the eye can see, filled with factory farmed cows or factory farmed wheat. We can go to the Amazon and look at what used to be just absolutely impenetrable jungle and is now civilization. We can go to the Nile Delta and look at what used to be one of the most verdant places on the planet and see it choked with humanity. You can travel all over the planet and see these things, right? But the ocean is like it's like a hidden damage, because what's happening to the ocean is happening deep and strong in the undercurrent. It's the acidification of the ocean. It's the warming of the ocean. It's the disruption of a biosphere that we don't have eyes on, that we're still learning about. Some absurdly low percentage of our ocean floors have been cataloged and explored by humanity. It's like 2 or 3% or some shit. It's absurdly low. And what that means is that there is this horrifying die-off and damage going on every second of every day that we can't even see because it's deep under our oceans. And it all feeds us. The fish that die and feed, and the weird jellies that live down there that die and feed on the bottom, that's the bottom of life's food chain. They create nutrients that sink to the bottom of the ocean floor, that create phytoplankton that rise to the top of the ocean, that create oxygen. It's part of the earth. It's part of why we can live here, and it's dying. It's dying. It's not in crisis, it's dying. It's like on the ventilator, and you better call up all the fucking family members and have them come say goodbye to Grandma Earth because she's dying. At least in terms of a place that's going to be able to support the absolutely fucking beautiful and unprecedented biodiversity that we have right now. I'm looking at it right now in my yard. There are a group of, I think, little I don't know what those are. Little budgies or something? And they're all contributing. They're all contributing to the health of the biosphere right now. They're pecking around on the ground, eating little bugs and pieces of grain. They're pooping. They're adding to the fertility of the soil. They're giving back what they take. They're not thinking about creating some colossal machine that sucks all the fucking protein up out of the world. They're not thinking about how do we farm fleas or farm ticks or farm worms or whatever it is they're over there eating. They're just doing so. They're living in concert with the land. They're living on the land base. And they're not taking more than can be put back. And if you look at any other species on the planet, they're living the exact same way. Hand in hand with that biosphere. Not against it. Except for us. And now a blue jay has joined. You see what I mean? Remarkable, remarkable beauty and diversity. And it's disappearing. And it's because of us. When a biosphere dies off, everything that depends on it starves and cannibalizes itself. Our time is coming. Well, that's the thing, is like, we become very efficient at extracting the things that we need. What do human beings need in order to perpetuate the civilization that we live in? Where there's our base needs, food, water, shelter. Those are met in most Western societies, at least to the level that, you know, most people have that. We have a tragic and unprecedented amount of homelessness in this country, and I know it exists elsewhere, but we're talking about the vast majority of people having the food and shelter thing pretty much handled, right? Then what do we need? Well, we need endless natural resources to fuel our constant expansion of cities, to fuel our constant research and development of technology, to fuel our constant need for more. We live in a culture that's based on a paradigm of endless growth. America's GDP has to grow every year. It has to, because if it shrinks, then everything goes to shit. We're all sitting on an ocean of debt. We're all sitting on an esoteric concept that has nothing to do with the tree that I'm looking at, has nothing to do with the blue jay that I'm watching peck the seeds over here, has nothing to do with the fire that I'm burning here, has nothing to do with the land base that I'm sitting on. It's a totally fabricated human concept that you have to trade hours of your day for company script to trade for the things that you need. And it's killing the planet. It's killing these little birds that are sitting over here next to me. They don't know it. They may know it on some elemental level. They may come back year after year, the ones that live year after year, and see that there are less things. See that the climate is drier, see that there are ever less wild spaces for them to feed on and nest in. But they don't know why. Well, yeah, we are killing the planet, right? When I said it, I meant our constant desire for more. But that comes forth from us, yes. We've done this, and you can hear it all around me. Like I said, I'm looking at a big, wide open wild space, but you can hear the sounds of industry and commerce all around me. Every 30 minutes, hour or so, a train rumbles by here, a sign of materials and natural resources that have been taken from another place, made into something else, and are now being shipped to feed some big city. The importation of resources. That's a big thing that Jensen harps on. He typifies cities as a collection of people large enough to require the importation of resources. And what that means is that you've denuded the landscape that your city sits on of that resource, and you now require the importation of that. Well, the end result of that is not hard, like a fucking third grader could tell you. What happens when a city gets so big and it needs resources and somebody doesn't want to give it? Somebody says, no, you can't have the resources. They have no choice but to go take it. This is what I'm talking about, that paradigm of infinite growth that our culture is based on. The fart of humanity. You can hear it. Somebody's tooling around on a ATV out here, pooping a bunch of carbon up into the atmosphere. The fart of humanity, man. I know I'm pooping a bunch of carbon too, my little burn barrel, but come on. I mean, let's get real. At least this is doing something for me. It's warming me. It's creating fertile ash that I will use to make a little garden here in the spring, hopefully. Be the basis of my mulch pit. You know what I mean? I plan on using this ash for mulch. I'd like Paul to use this year at the bunker to do some simple living and introspective and draw insight and share with us a skeptical bearded man's Walden during a pandemic. It's not quite Walden, man. Like I said, I'm not going to pan it around and show you guys because I don't want any creepiness. But there's people all around me. You know what I mean? I'm on a big piece of land that's mine. It's very quiet out here in comparison to a lot of the places that I've lived. But you guys hear the trains. You guys hear the cars go by. You hear Dinor barking at the dude, you know, jogging on the street that is adjacent to my property. You know what I mean? This isn't exactly Walden, man. It's Walden for me in comparison. You know what I mean? To where I was living before. I definitely have more access to that kind of feeling now than I had before. But once again, I'm listening to fucking CCR and Cream coming out of somebody's house a mile away. You know what I mean? It's not Walden. And I don't really see it shifting my perspective all that much, except for rooting me in my belief that little places like this, like I live on, need to be preserved. You know what I mean? But I already know that. It just maybe will crystallize that even further in my head. Sorry about the late response. I'm at work, but I appreciate the advice. The freedom is definitely a plus, and I'll check out the movie for sure. Yeah, check out the movie. You know, Freddie Quell, traveler of the seven seas. He knows no masters and goes where he please. I have to know where I met you. We have to figure out where we met before. I love that movie so much. It's a big, kind of sidelong wink at Scientology. So it's based on a cult called, I'm trying to remember the name of the cult in the movie. What is the name of the cult in the movie? It's the Cause. That's what it's called. But it's basically like Philip Seymour Hoffman plays, I can't remember the name of his character, but he plays basically L. Ron Hubbard. And it's based very loosely but very, very definitively on the life of L. Ron Hubbard and the early days of the cult of Scientology. So there's that wrapped around the whole thing too. But there's a good lesson for you in that. As a person, like, I'm really thinking about you because you asked me a question that I didn't immediately know the answer to, and I just kind of threw you some bullshit about a movie that I watched that reminded me of your question. I don't know, really, what to tell a person like you that doesn't have the attachments that most people have. You don't have, like, a family you can go back to if shit gets fucking rough. You don't have a bunch of friends. And it really made me think of Freddie Quell from The Master, because that's really what he is, too. He drifts, he travels, he goes around, he does what he does. He doesn't stay at a job very long, mostly due to his alcoholism. Hopefully that won't be the case for you. But if you look at him as a character study, you know, the culmination of that film is that he's rudderless. He has to be on the sea. He has to be traveling. He can't know a master. And that's really what he learns over the course of the movie. Because he spends the course of the movie looking up to people trying to find somebody to tell him, this is the way I'm supposed to live. This is how I'm supposed to be. And it culminates in him learning the hard way and in a very heartbreaking way. He can't count on other people. He can't count on them being there for him when he needs them. And that really makes me think of you. It really does. You know, that's a butchered quote from the film. You know, Freddie Quell, traveler of the seven seas. He knows no master, goes wherever he pleases. How is that like L. Ron Hubbard? Freddie Quell is not the L. Ron Hubbard character. The L. Ron Hubbard character is, oh fuck, what is he called? They just call him Master in the movie, but he does have J. Dodd Frank or some shit like that. No, Dodd Frank is like a that's like it's like a law, isn't it? What's his name in that fucking movie? I think it's Dodd. Lancaster Dodd.
Yeah.
Lancaster Dodd. So he plays a guy named Lancaster Dodd in the movie who is supposed to be L. Ron Hubbard. Yeah. I remember the names of, yeah. And Amy Adams plays Peggy Dodd, who is supposed to be Peggy Sue Hubbard, who was instrumental in the creation of Scientology. It was a lot of her paranoia that fed his paranoia. Like, they were a sick pair. L. Ron Hubbard and maybe her name wasn't Peggy Sue. It was something like that. It was Peggy Hubbard, or he had 3 wives. I think it was Sarah Hubbard. That was the one that helped him. But she was an incredible paranoiac, and he was a minor paranoiac, and she fed that paranoia and basically created the basis of the paranoid power fantasy that is Scientology. It's a great book, or sorry, a great movie. I recommend that you watch it. Don't take it as a Bible for how to live your life, because Freddie Quell is an incredibly flawed character, as you'll see very early on in the film and all throughout it. You know, he's a hopeless sex addict. He's a hopeless alcoholic. And he's hopelessly adrift. Are you going to do solar panels or some other renewable energy? Well, I'm renting now, so that doesn't make a whole lot of sense for me to pay for solar panels on a place I may be leaving in a year. But when I find the place, whatever that place is, when I'm done with my traveling, that gives me a little piece of land and privacy, and the price is right, I'm going to purchase that place. And that'll be where I settle down for goods. And when I do that, then I'm going to start improving my land, of course. And I mean, one of the ways, depending on where I end up, you know, if you end up in a place that isn't really conducive to solar energy, you don't want to waste a bunch of money on solar panels that are about 50% efficient. But if I end up in a place with abundant sun, solar panels, good idea. You could get a solar panel system and a whole house battery, so that when the power goes out for your neighbors, it doesn't go out for you for another 12 hours, and it's constantly being recharged by the sun overhead.
A pool heater.
Oh yeah, you could have a pool heater. You could heat your pool. I don't ever want a big pool again, but I would love an infinity pool. I know those are expensive, but not as expensive. I want like an above ground infinity pool that I can just swim against the current. That would be great exercise for me, low impact exercise. That's what I need. But yeah, you know, when I find my place, I find a place that I really enjoy enough to look at it and say, you know, there's potential in this place. I could see myself being in this place. Then I buy it, and I start improving my land. Build a little garden space, a big mulch pile. We're going to do that anyway. We're going to have a mulch pile this year. We're just going to start throwing our eggshells and our, you know, non-meat perishables and stuff onto the mulch pile with our leaves, and just let it kind of get all nasty and rotten in there, and that'll be a fucking beautiful fertile base for our garden in the spring. I don't know exactly what grows around here yet. I didn't really check into that, but we'll figure out what grows good here in the spring and summer months, and we'll grow us a little garden. Peppers grow pretty much anywhere as long as they've got sun, and not freezing temperatures. So we'll have a little pepper garden, maybe a little herb garden. Paul, what's your best memory of Scotty or TJ? Best memory? Well, I'm still friends with them, and I talked to them yesterday, so they haven't passed. But I guess my favorite memory of each one of those is a fair question. I really do like the way TJ and I met. I know he was talking about it on his stream last night. Somebody told me the lemon tree conversation. But he and I had kind of danced around each other's orbits. I consider him to be like an internet acquaintance or whatever, and I think he felt pretty much the same about me. And I'd had a couple of really successful appearances on his Drunken Peasants episodes. They'd had me on as a Friday guest, I think, for about a month. And I was really well received at that point. But he and I had never met face to face and had a real conversation. And that happened in Hollywood, California, in the house that the girl from Poltergeist was murdered by her drunk boyfriend in. They rented that as an Airbnb. I was with Ashley at the time. Beyond Fear was actually down there with us as well. We were all staying in a Motel 6 right there in West Hollywood. But didn't spend much time there because TJ, Ben, and Scotty had rented a big Airbnb. And so we spent most of our time chilling over there. And really, like, we had all these plans, right? We were going to go to Mann's Chinese Theater, not Mann's Chinese Theater, the Apollo Theater over there and see, like, a movie. And, we were going to go to some museums and blah, 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 blah. And what ended up happening is, like, the second day I was there, because the first day we were there, everybody was tired. We just all slept. The second day I was there, I get a call from the guys saying, hey, man, you got a medical card, right? We really need weed. And I was like, dude, I fucking got you. What do you guys want? And they were like, we want everything. It's like everything, like edibles, everything. They're like, yeah. So I went and I spent like an exorbitant amount of money at the time, just because I knew that I was called upon to smoke out the drunken peasants. You know what I mean? You don't just go get a little baggie of weed and bring it. So I went and got.
It was a business expense.
Well, they paid me back anyway. They all chipped in, so it wasn't like I was out of pocket, but it was a lot of weed, yo. I walked into that place, and California's medical system was weird back then. They had to do these cross checks and stuff if you were out of your area in California, and I was. My medical card was issued in the Central Valley of California, and I was about 5 hours away in LA. And so I had to sit in this weird little waiting area while they made a bunch of phone calls and cross-checked my green card. And then eventually they called me up and they had me sign a piece of paper, and then they let me in. It was like this big bouncer guy was like, right this way. You know what I mean? And then I went through the door, and it was like, that scene in fucking Charlie and the Chocolate Factory where he opens the door and they see the little like candy fucking river for the first time with all the mushrooms with cream cheese in them, and like, you know what I mean? It was like that. Because it was like a really like crappy little waiting room that I was sitting in, and then this dude like walks me over to this door with a lock on it, and he unlocks it and he goes, right this way, sir. And I walked in, and it was just like, come with me and you'll see. It's just weed of every imagination. It's just every kind of weed. And I went fucking ham in there. I grabbed like 18 fucking different types of edibles. I got 2 full ounces of fucking top shelf bud, 1 indica, 1 sativa, a bunch of pre-rolls for the convenience, gummies, brownies, cookies, etc., right? It was probably about $800 worth of weed, all told.
Were they doing carts back then or not?
Not really. Carts didn't take off for a while after that. I mean, they existed, but most people, like in Cali, we were just getting bud. So I got a bunch of weed, a bunch of pipes too, a bunch of little, because I knew that you don't fly with your pipes and shit. So I got a bunch of little pipes. Everybody would have their own pipes. Probably about $600 or $700 worth of weed at the end of the day. And I took it to the Airbnb that the guys were staying at. And there was a tree out there. It is apocryphally a lemon tree. It was some kind of citrus tree. And in telling the story, I've dubbed it a lemon tree. But TJ swears up and down it probably wasn't a lemon tree, but he goes with it because he thinks it's cooler if it's a lemon tree. There's this deck in the back, a really nice, expansive backyard. I sat down at the table with the bag of weed and I pulled it out and I started rolling us a J. And TJ sat across the table from me, and we basically started a conversation that lasted for about 48 hours in total. We slept, but we talked all that day from, the mid morning when I got there into the wee fucking hours of the night until like 4. And then I got an Uber back to my hotel and I went to sleep. And then the next morning I got a call from TJ inviting me back over, and I went back over and we did the same thing that day. And it went for about 3 days, and I'd say about 48 hours. And it was like the coolest getting to know you conversation I've ever had with somebody. Because you gotta keep in mind, I had just come from a really small town, and I'm not trying to dog on the people that live in that little small town, but there were not a lot of people that were philosophy buffs and movie buffs around me. You know what I mean? They were few and far between, and I was starved for conversation with a person that could keep up with me on those topics. And TJ, of course, can more than keep up with me on those topics. And so we had just a great conversation. I think that's probably my favorite memory of TJ. It's like we became friends that day for real. We were already like acquaintances and coworkers and all that shit. But after that conversation, TJ was my friend. And, it was very familiar, very quick. He and I did not take long to feel each other out and find out that we were kin. You know what I mean? Not necessarily kin in every thought process, but we were cut from the same cloth philosophically. And that's important, when you're talking about a friendship. And or it can be, I guess. It can also be cool to have friends that are completely philosophically different from you, but that's another thing entirely. You find like one of your kindred spirit type of people, and TJ and I are one of the, we're those types of people. We get along well, we riff well on one another. I think my favorite Scotty memory happened in Bellevue, Washington. Me and Scotty went out drinking one night. Not drinking, drankin'. There's a difference. If you've ever lived in any place that has any kind of a country twang, you know that there's drinking and there's drinking. And me and Scotty went out and drank. We did some drinking. We tied one on, as my mom would say. And we walked back to the studio, which was in the same building as my apartment. And Scotty was like, "Pa, I got my car parked in the garage. I don't want to drive." And I was like, "No, you ain't driving nowhere, homie. You ain't going nowhere." He's like, "I'll just go sleep in the studio." I was like, "All right." He's like, "But I don't know if I could get to the studio, Paul." I was like, "Dude, I got you, Scotty. I'm going to get you to the studio, Scotty." He's like, "I don't know, Paul. You're drunk too, man. Can you get me to the studio?" And I was like, "Scotty, listen. I got this, Scotty. I'm going to get you to the studio, Scotty. Look at me in the eyes, Scotty. Look at me in the eyes, Scotty. I'm going to get you to the studio, bro. I'm not going to leave you to be drunk on the streets." So we got up the elevator to where the studio was. And when Scotty realized that we were like 3 or 4 doors from the studio, he stopped me. He's like, "Stop, Paul Zigo, stop." And it's late at night. We're out in front of people's doors in the hallway of this apartment place. "Stop, Paul Zigo, stop. I'm going to tell you something, Paul Zigo." No. I was like, "Come on, man, let's get in the studio." And then you tell me, he's like, "No. I'm going to tell you right here. You're going to listen too. You're going to listen to me," Paul Zigo. Put his hands on both my shoulders, right? And he's got me in that, boom. "You're going to listen to me." I was like, "All right, Scotty, I'm listening, Scotty." He said, "Listen, I don't trust nobody, Paul Zigo. I don't trust nobody in this fucking world except TJ. And even him I don't fucking trust half the time. I gotta tell you something, Paul Zigo. I work with a lot of motherfuckers in my life. Shady ass motherfuckers. Motherfuckers who want to take advantage. Because you know TJ has a lot of stuff. TJ has a lot, he has money, he has influence, and people want that. Paul Zigo, you the real fucking deal, Paul Zigo. I want to let you know that I know that. And I don't say that to people unless I mean it, Paul Zigo. You the real fucking deal, Paul Zigo." And I was like, "Scotty, let me tell you something. You the real fucking deal, Scotty. You the real fucking deal." We hugged it out right there in the fucking hall. That was a great moment, I think that's when me and Scotty became friends. Howdy who neighboroos. Holy shit, bro. Yeah, I like that. Those good times. Good wholesome times, man. Paul has convinced people that he's a good guy. I know. What idiots. What dupes. No. Best smoking in nature experience. I've had so many of them that, I don't have one that sticks out in my mind. I'm a Cali kid, you know what I mean? I grew up in California where weed wasn't decriminalized, but, it was pretty much so. And so I used to smoke in nature all the time. When I was a kid, I used to go to this park in my little hometown, and it had this place called the Bowl. We used to call it the Bowl, where it's like, it's hilly a little bit. It's not super hilly, it's mostly flat, but the bowl is like this dip. And when you get down in the bowl, people can't see you from the street. People can't see you from other places in the park. You're kind of like hidden. And so that was our spot at night. We would bring a blanket, and our shit was Boone's Fuzzy Navel, or Boone's Strawberry Hill. So those two. So Fuzzy Navel, Strawberry Hill. We'd get like 6 bottles, whatever little weed we had, and we'd get the blanket, we'd lay it out, get some pillows or whatever, and we'd just kind of kick back and look at the stars and smoke. And I kind of miss those days, but I could do that here now, when the weather gets a little better, just get kind of like a couple of my kickback lounge chairs over there, take them out there at night, smoke a bowl, and just look at the sky, watch the stars, etc. And Flash Fried, you mentioned you moved to the Pacific Northwest. Did I? I know for one that was just a clever ploy and to trick us into thinking you moved to Oregon and Washington. It's a false flag. I mean, maybe. I don't know.
Idaho's Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, Idaho's a part of the PNW, my friend. I think technically isn't Montana as well?
Kinda.
I mean, it's definitely in the Northwest.
Yeah.
I'm a proud movie watcher. If you don't watch things, you can't say watcher. You can say watcha, though. You're banned. That was complete nonsense, and you're banned. California is both Northwest and Southwest. That's true. California's kind of with Texas in its own little kind of category, because it spans such a long stretch of the Pacific coast that you can't really call it the Pacific Northwest, but Northern California is technically in the Pacific Northwest. And it's also in the Southwest as well. I mean, it butts right up against Baja, California, and Mexico. I mean, how do you not call that the Southwest? So, yeah, Cali's a weird one. They recorded Godfather 2 in North California. Did they? That's cool. I think we might have read that when we did our trivia thing. Do you remember, like, whereabouts? If you do, in the chat, let me know, because that's an interesting fact that I had forgotten, or maybe never knew. How many kilograms of hot dogs could you eat if you would eat? I'm going to time you out for 300 seconds. I'm not going to ban you, because I've dealt with you before, Mickey Richards, and I think you're pretty funny. But that was just utter nonsense. So take 300 seconds and think about what you've done. It was half nonsense, exactly. One good thing about Oregon is that there's no sales tax. Also, people pump your gas. Dude, somebody had an idea, and I was like, wow. Somebody said, Paul's living right on the border. He's living in Washington, but he's like 20 minutes from a border town in Oregon, so that he can pay his no state tax in Washington and pay no sales tax in Oregon. And I was like, fuck, I'm not that smart. Maybe I should be, though. Maybe that should be my next move, because that sounds pretty fucking dank to me. I thought the people pump gas thing was just New Jersey. Nope. Oregon as well, right? Do they still do that? Where they don't allow you to...
I've never been in Oregon.
Oh, really? Oh, I know you grew up in Washington, so I figured maybe you'd poked down into Oregon, but I've never poked up to Oregon, so you know what I mean. But yeah, no, in Oregon, I know at least when I was growing up, and at least probably like 10 years ago, I know it was still in effect. You can't pump your own gas there. Like you pull up and you run over that little hose that makes a thing go ding ding inside, and then a dude comes out and pumps your gas. And you gotta like tip them and shit because they don't let you pump your own gas in Oregon. So now you pump your own gas in Oregon? Okay. See, I'm a boomer, so when I was a kid, I swear to God, you didn't. That was something that was on the books. I think I do remember, though, that they rescinded that law in like the mid 2000s or something, but I wasn't sure. So it sounds like.
It got so expensive.
In Oregon, if the county has more than 40,000 residents, gas is full service. If it's a rural county with less than 40,000 residents, then it's self-serve. Okay, see? So now I got contradictory information already. We don't pump our gas here. Okay, so yeah, it's still a thing. See? The rabbit hole. The rabbit hole, dude. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why. I mean, I think it's a safety thing. I do know that early self-serve pumps were known death traps, basically. Like, because people would do, like, right now, when you put a pump in, it's made of metal, but it's spark-free metal. Like, you could hit it against anything, and it's probably not going to throw a spark. It's very, like, spark-free metal.
It probably didn't click back in the day either.
Right. You had to stop before it overflowed. So they didn't have overflow regulators. They didn't have the right kind of metal, and so people were just careless. Like they'd smoke while they were pumping their gas and blow themselves up or get burned real bad and shit. And I think Oregon was just like, look, you got to have a professional put this in your car. Well, nowadays that don't make any fucking sense. You really got to try to blow yourself up at a fucking gas pump these days. I mean, you really got to be dumb, you know. And so the rest of the, states decided long ago that people could pump their own shit, but Oregon was like, nope, you can't. In New Jersey, they have that law, but it's to keep low-skill jobs for people with disabilities and teens. That's also a really good idea, honestly. Where I grew up, there was an organization called Heartland that was for people mostly with Down syndrome, but there were people with other developmental disabilities in there too.
I think like
Fragile X or nonverbal autism or whatever. There were a lot of young people in that little small community that otherwise would have been relegated to being just taken care of by their families, that were given a job by that company. And that company basically made no profit. It was a nonprofit called Heartland, and it was to give them a job, and it was a recycling company. So that's how they financed themselves, is you would take your recycling to Heartland. They would pay you a little bit for whatever they gave you, and then they would sell the aluminum and make enough money to pay, their operating costs and their salaries and stuff. And it was a really great organization, and that type of stuff is needed. Like, if we're going to have a job economy, there has to be these kind of low-skilled jobs that anybody can get, and they have to be plentiful. You can't ask people to pull themselves up by their own bootstraps if they ain't got boots on their feet. You have to put a pair of boots on a man's feet or a woman's feet or a person's feet before they can pull it up. But that was a great little organization, and I know there are organizations like that all over the planet.
Yeah, there's like Down syndrome coffee shops.
Yep. And it's great because those people, they were like, I got to tell you, I went to Heartland a lot with my mom. My mom was very big on supporting that organization. Now, we didn't have a lot of money to donate directly to them. They did accept direct donation, obviously, being a nonprofit. Be careful, baby. You okay?
Sorry.
No, I'm just saying don't burn yourself.
Yeah.
So you got a little hot there. But, there need to be organization, not just for people that are developmentally disabled, but for people that are just on the lower rung of training. Like, a lot of people drop out of high school and they don't know how to do shit. They don't know how to use a cash register. They don't know how to type. They don't know how to fucking work a machine. They don't know how to get a job.
Or they don't have attention spans.
Right. And so this country needs tons and tons of nonprofits that are basically, with that type of business model. The reason Heartland was so great is that it was kind of a double whammy. Those people got a job that they could go to and work that was fulfilling for them, so that they weren't just sitting at home feeling like they were being taken care of. They got an income from that. Now, they still lived at home with their parents or their families or their caretakers, right? But they got an income from that they were allowed to spend. It made them bona fide members of our society rather than this dark secret that we lock in our closet like we did for hundreds of years. But not just those folks, but like undertrained folks. But the great double whammy of it was it gave those folks something to do and let them feel that they were productive members. And they didn't even feel it. They had jobs. They were paid.
They were recycling.
But it was also recycling. So it was good for around here. People weren't throwing their beer cans in the river anymore. They were crushing them up and taking them down to Heartland. Get a few bucks for it. You know what I mean? They'd give you pennies on the dollar for your aluminum, and then they'd sell it up, and that's how they paid their op costs. I don't care about finding work. Is that wrong? No. No, it really isn't, honestly. Like, I've never subscribed to this notion that a human being should have to trade their most precious commodity, which is their time, to another person in exchange for enough money to get by on. Now, I don't know how you're getting by. You're probably getting by on some kind of government assistance, but I'm not the type of person that judges people that are in your position. I don't fucking blame you. I worked for 20 years, normal 9-to-5 gig jobs, and it broke my body in half. It broke my spirit. I was fucking miserable. So no, I don't blame you. I don't give a fuck. I'm not going to sit here and wring my hands about paying taxes for you so you can live a comfortable life. I wish we all could.
Probably pay more taxes to subsidize Amazon.
Right? More of my taxes go to subsidize ExxonMobil and Amazon and fucking all these other companies that pay an effective zero tax rate at the end of the year than to support you sitting and playing your fucking PS5 all day. You know, and I don't give a fuck. Good on you. See, this overblown idea that homeless people or indigent people or people that are unemployed are some kind of a drag on the economy when we live in fucking corporate America and the drag on the economy is the very corporations that run things is fucking ludicrous.
Or it's like it costs this much in productivity, but wages haven't increased with productivity.
This country has a GDP measured in the trillions, and you're telling me we can't afford to let guys stay home if they wanna? We can't afford to let a person stay home and play Xbox all day if they wanna? Fuck off. But there's enough money to subsidize Jeff Bezos so he can be the world's first fucking trillionaire, right? Garbage. People's priorities are all fucked up. They're looking at their fellow man and going, oh, look at that lazy fuck over there that doesn't work. Oh, look at that guy over there with the bum leg. I bet he could get an office job, but he don't. He just draws a government check. And they're acting like that's where all their money's going. Bull fucking shit. Your money, if you're all concerned about it, is going to pay for bombs that are being dropped on brown people and the enrichment of giant mega conglomerate corporations so that they can pay an effective zero tax rate and continue to rake in billions and billions of dollars. Tax-free. That's the drain on your economy, not the person down the street that's unemployed, not the person down the street that has a bum leg that's drawing a government check, not the person down the street that's deaf and can't work and is drawing fucking government assistance. No. Those people are negligible to our bottom line. You want to affect our bottom line? Talk about the military-industrial complex. Talk about the fact that we have incestuous relationships between American corporations like Halliburton and the death industry that is our fucking military. You know how much one Hellfire missile costs? I don't, but I bet it's in the tens of thousands of dollars. You know how many of those we're shooting overseas every fucking minute of every day? 10 grand, 10 grand, 10 grand.
Or like the $1 billion Blue Angels shit. Like,
you really think these people that you fucking demonize are shooting $10,000 missiles all day, you dumb fuck? Smoke follows beauty.
Should I add more or less?
It's fine. It'll flame up. Let me see. Yeah, let's put some more. Let me stoke it real quick. Ooh, I got the smoke in my eyes. It happens though. That's part of sitting by the fire, y'all. You get the smoke in the face. All right, we're gonna give this fire a stoke. I've already stoked my own fire.
You think it needs a squirt?
What?
You think it needs a squirt?
Nah. I'm just going to stir up some of these coals. I'm going to get it nice and hot in there. I'm going to throw a little bit of kindling down on top of it. Sprinkle it around liberally. Smokey and the Bandit.
There it goes.
Well, the kindling has gone, but now we just gotta wait for the big log to catch. Oh boy, man. Yeah, people's fucking priorities. Bitching about people that are on welfare, bitching about welfare queens, bitching about people that are not really disabled, gaming the system. And it's like, you know how negligible that is to the bottom line of this fucking country, you dupe? It's like we're all pointing the fingers at each other, not knowing each other's circumstances, making a bunch of assumptions about the guy that lives over there that doesn't have a job or the guy that lives down there that has a bum knee. And while we're doing that, while we're all looking at each other with suspicion, about half a dozen people are running out the back door with big sacks of cash over their shoulders like, what a bunch of dupes. Ooh, we don't even have to sneak anymore. They don't even have to. They don't even have to go out the back. They just walk right out the front with a big bale of gold, and we're just too busy arguing at each other to notice what they're doing. You're goddamn right being a billionaire should be illegal. 100%. There should be not a single billionaire in this fucking country. Not one.
Even like
Your effective tax rate should be 100% at a certain point. Period. If we're going to keep in this same fucking stupid paradigm, I'd rather we get rid of that whole concept. But if we're not going to do that, maximum wealth should be tied to minimum wage. Sure. Yeah, the higher the minimum wage, the higher the maximum wealth. That'd be a good way to get a fucking minimum wage hike immediately. You talk about fucking McDonald's workers making $25 an hour. That's how you make that dream a reality. You tie maximum wealth to minimum wealth. Oh, what's the minimum wage? $9.95. Well, guess what?
You can only have
You can have $995,000. And then after that, your effective tax rate is 100% on income over that. Oh, well, let's pay him 25. Well, then you can have $25 million. Oh, let's pay him like 90. So you see how it works? That's how you get it. But nobody talks about how to grab it by the balls anymore. Or very few people do.
Remember that Twilight Zone where they got $1 million and the tax rate back then was like 75% or something?
Yeah. That's a great one. They run a junk shop that's going under, and the guy's like taking care of all the indigent people in the neighborhood to the consternation of his wife, but he's a good-hearted guy. And then they get this weird piece that they buy from this old lady that they think is just junk, but he gives it to her because she needs it for food. And he rubs it, and it's a fucking genie pops out, and he gives him wishes, and he wishes for like $1 million, which was a ton of money back then. It was like $1 million in 50s money or whatever the fuck. And he gets it. I can't remember what his other wishes and shit were, but the whole point of it is that eventually that money gets completely eaten up because all of the sudden, like, he starts giving it away to people in the neighborhood. He's like, we're gonna give away this much, and we keep the rest for us, and we retire, and blah 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 blah. All of a sudden, somebody knocks on the door, and it's the IRS guy, and he's doing an audit. Well, he spent a ton of that money already, and he finds out that whatever he's got left is what he owes in taxes. And back then, the effective tax rate on millionaires was 70% or higher. Before Ronald Reagan, the upper tax bracket, I think, was 90%. So over a certain amount of money, you paid 90% in taxes. And people were still filthy fucking rich in the 80s, trust me.
Because it was tiered, so it's not like every penny was 90%, like everything after a certain
right.
point.
Like, in the 80s, before Reagan, there was a show called Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous with Robin Leach. And it was basically like a drool over what the rich people have show. Trust me, people were plenty rich when that high tax bracket was 90% or 95% or whatever it was. They just wanted to be more rich. They wanted more power, more influence over the political process so they could get more rich. Deregulate more. Move more oil platforms into once protected lands, clear-cut forests that used to be national parks. That's what they want. Money, 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 money. Consume, 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 consume until there's nothing left for anybody. That's the plan. That's the capitalist plan. Eat everything alive until this planet is denuded of anything that we can use to make anything, and then die on it. If you talk about billionaires with conservatives, they like to say stocks value is not the same as income. Conservatives that simultaneously get fucked by the system, make a pittance and have shit health care, and then run like white knights to the defense of giant fucking mega conglomerate corporations are some of the stupidest fucks that we have living among us. It's like having it's like being bitten by weasels every night and getting these horrible infected weasel bites, and then running out into the fucking streets and denouncing anybody that says anything bad about weasels. You know what I mean? It makes no fucking sense.
Rich people love debt. Like, they use their net worth that they don't technically have access to get more debt. And
They call it cheap money. Yeah. Which, like, to a person that works for a paycheck, that doesn't make sense. What do you mean cheap money? Cheap money is what rich people buy their mansions and yachts with, because they have such bankable assets, not liquid necessarily, but their company is worth X amount of dollars in valuation. Their stock portfolio is worth X amount of dollars in valuation. Their prospectus is worth X amount of dollars in valuation. And so they can walk into a bank and just borrow $20 million at like 5%. At like less than 5% probably, at like 2% interest or some shit. And they take that money and they use some of it to build a property that's going to make enough money back to pay that loan back. And the rest of it's just theirs to buy a big fucking yacht with and shit. Now notice what happened there. They didn't make a penny to get any of that shit. All of that was just borrowed. It's just big ocean of fucking debt that they took onto themselves, bought a bunch of shit with, and then it minorly invested in their company enough to where over the course of 10 years, that money's just paid back. And then they do it again. They take another big balloon. Or they do it multiple times a year. Take a big balloon here. Take a big balloon here. This one's made up by our little, we take $5 million of that and invest it in the infrastructure in this part of the company. And that'll make our output 5% more, so that over the course of 10 years, we pay back the loan. And the rest of it gets bonused out.
What was that documentary, like Queen of Versailles or something?
Yeah, Queen of Versailles. It followed the, what was his name? Siegel. David Siegel, the timeshare king. That's an actually really good documentary if you've never seen it. It's called The Queen of Versailles. It follows David Siegel. He was a timeshare guy, timeshare magnate, big political player too, big political donor. He bragged after George W. Bush was elected that it was he personally who got it done. And then when asked, how did you do that? He said, I'm not going to answer that question because it might not have strictly been legal, but let's just say that, had I kept my nose where it didn't belong, maybe we wouldn't have had an Iraq war. We'll put it that way. You know what I mean? This dude had money on money on money on money on money. And then the crash happened in 2008. And all of a sudden, banks started giving out this cheap money that we were talking about, right, to rich fucks. And now this dude who has financed the building of all of these giant fucking timeshares all over the world with what? Debt, right? Because you don't come out of pocket for that. You just borrow $20 million, buy a big plot of land on a beautiful lake in Italy, and then you build a big timeshare on it. And then the dues from that timeshare pay back the loan. Well, all of a sudden, the economy crashes. People can't pay their timeshares anymore. No money's coming into the company. And now all of a sudden, David Siegel, who is a baller, flying around in a pinstriped private jet, living in fucking 2 or 3 different mansions. The whole documentary is built around him building which was at the time the largest single family home in America. I think it still is. And he called it Versailles because it was modeled after the palace at Versailles. Had a giant fucking $3 million arched dome fucking stained glass window skylight. Had a huge fucking grand escalier. This house was gonna have like 9 kitchens in it. And they had a giant deck they could sit on and watch the Disney fireworks at night because it was in Orlando. It was like right across the bay from Disney. And so they had their private deck where they could privately sit and watch the Disney fireworks show every night. He was building this house and then the crash happened. And now all of a sudden he owns nothing but debt. And slowly but surely we watch him cannibalize his company to try and save his biggest properties. And slowly but surely we watch him give up on the dream of finishing that house and trying to sell it and trying to unload it and watching their family kind of have to live like normal people. Like all of a sudden they're cooking their own food and shit. And you're like, whoa, this is weird.
We're going on a pleb plane.
Right. They're flying, like they're flying commercial and they're renting cars. Dude, there's a great scene where Jackie Siegel, the wife of David Siegel, is flying commercial for the first time. And they put a camera with her. And she goes up to a Hertz rent-a-car, right? And she gets a car and she goes, and where will my driver meet me? And the guy at Hertz is like, you're the driver. We don't offer drivers. Oh, I have to. Oh, okay. I thought we would have a driver. And it's just like, no. In her defense, she's not an I can't live like this person.
She just didn't know.
She came from nothing, right? Her story is actually really compelling. She was dirt ass fucking poor, lived in Florida, was really attractive, so she married this millionaire investor guy, and then that was a horrible abusive relationship, and it basically left her with nothing, because the prenup just locked her out or whatever it was. I can't remember what she said, but she got basically nothing in the divorce, and she was ass out. And she went to college, put herself through college, working odd jobs, became an engineer at IBM?
Yeah.
Yeah. So she worked at IBM. She was an engineer at IBM. One of the first women to be hired at the place that she worked. And then she worked that soul-crushing shit for about a year and decided, hey, I don't want to do this, and started modeling because she was hot and started getting some swimsuit model stuff and some racy kind of lewd stuff and started making money doing that. Ended up in the Miss America pageant where she met David Siegel because he ran that back in the day. I think he still does, to be honest with you. So she was Miss Florida. She meets David Siegel. She's swept up into this multi-billionaire lifestyle and lives like that for 20 years, pops out 6 kids, and then all of a sudden she has to do a budget. And it's like, huh? But it just goes to show you how divorced from reality the ultra-wealthy are. Of course he made it all back. He's a rich fuck. That's the thing, is like, the documentary ends looking pretty dismal for the Siegels, but I went and looked into them. Some shit has happened to them. Unfortunately, their daughter, Victoria, who features prominently in the documentary, died of a drug overdose a couple of years ago. I think I heard about that. But as far as like David Siegel's fortune, it's intact. He's back, baby. I don't know if he got Versailles back.
I think they did eventually.
Did they?
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking.
No one wanted to buy it, so.
Right. So he sat on it. See, you remember what he was doing? He was constantly like jockeying to get the loan extended or to get their period of payoff or their eviction extended. And he was using his money. He was moving around debt to do that. And he held on to it long enough for the economy to turn around and then just finished it. See, that guy, I got to tell you, man, out of everybody in that movie, he's the most relatable to me because he's rich as fuck, but he also came from nothing. He built his own business, and he's just like doggedly in that movie. Everybody else around him is like, oh, pretending like nothing's going on. All his kids are pretending like, oh, this is just a speed bump. And he's just like fucking working. He's like, I'm going to find money. I'm going to find a way to save this. And he fucking did. What a fucking baller, dude. You got to have respect for it. See, these are not people that like, neither he or his wife were people that didn't know poverty. He tells a story in the movie that's really kind of heartwarming to his children, because you can tell he's trying to impart to his children who have known nothing but opulence their whole lives the idea that money is not always there. And it's on Christmas, and they're all opening their giant presents and shit. During the midst of their company, by the way, almost going belly up, they still have like beluga caviar, and the kids are getting all this expensive shit. And he sits and he tells a story about a chocolate bar. He's got a big Hershey bar there. And he says, every year I buy a Hershey bar because my mom told me a story about when she met my dad. They met on a train, and they got off at the same stop, and she told him, buy me a Hershey bar. And he had to tell her, I don't have a nickel. I'm sorry. And so every year, now that my mom's passed, she told me that after she passed, she wanted me to eat a Hershey bar for her, because I would get her a Hershey bar every year because of that story. So he was trying his best to impart to his children some idea that the way that they were living was fucking crazy, and that they better not expect to have it all the time. But
I mean, what do you expect out of a 13-year-old that's been raising it her whole life?
right. I mean, there could have been ways for him to do that. See, if he really cared about instilling in his children a sense that money meant something and was transient and could go, then he could have lived way more frugally, or had a second house where he raised his children in that was way more frugal, where he made them, like when they got of age, like 13, start doing chores and start
They can't have
getting.
20 pets they don't take care of.
They have no pets unless they earn it. You see what I mean? They don't have no toys unless they earn it. He could have done it, but he lavished them with gifts, and he lavished them with praise, and he lavished them with everything that they fucking whined for, and they never learned. Yeah, that's a great documentary, by the way. I recommend it. The Queen of Versailles. It sounds interesting to you. I haven't spoiled anything about it, I'll tell you that much. I may have to fucking just stand over here for a minute. It's just, the wind is blowing right up in the porch, and my my chair is right in the path, dude. But yeah, this fire, I let it get down too low. It was my bad. I sat here and bloviated for too long, and my fire got low, and now we're reaping the fucking whirlwind, man. Get in there.
You also have less coals.
Yeah, because we dumped our fire pit for the first time finally, because it was like half coals, or half ash. Half ass, half ash. So I'm going to use some kindling, and I'm going to get a stonking log on there. Big old stonker. Big old chonker. I'm going to get this fucking fire going again. And then after this thing, I think I'll let it, after this little log burns down, I think I'll let it go down until tonight. I'll stoke it back up tonight when we're sitting out here, babe, but it's getting warm enough now for me. I'm not quite ready to be done with the fire, but I'm almost there. Yeah, girthy log. Yeah, exactly. What's up, Shabiscuits and gravy? We're not 100% settled in fully. Like, we've still got a few things in boxes. We're still not sure where we're going to put certain things. Our house is very strange. It's not in a bad way, but it's just laid out very weird.
We're used to having just one place for
Yeah.
all the clothes, and that's going to be all.
Well, the place that we were living in together was very, like, ergonomically designed to be like a family household. So everything was centralized and easy to get to. This is a house that was built out here and probably designed out here fucking in the 60s. And it's been built onto, you can tell. They've done some add-ons here and there. And what it's made is kind of a house that doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Disconnected.
Yeah, it's very disjointed. It's got some beautiful, like, big, like, we got a big old living room and a big old dining room. Like, the dining room is absurd. It's like a dining room that you would want to have like a Thanksgiving for like 30 people or some shit. It's absurd for the size of the house. But then it's got these narrow hallways. The bathrooms are both weird. Like, one of the bathrooms, like what I would call the master bath, isn't in the master bedroom. The master bedroom has a tiny little bathroom with a little toilet that's like tucked behind the door, and a tiny shower that I use. I mean, it's enough. Like, I can fit in it and shit, but it's like squeezed into the little corner, you know, tiny little, and then the big bathroom that's big and nice that has the his and her mirrors and shit has a door that leads literally straight outside from it. Like you can walk from the outside right into the shitter. It's weird. It's just laid out fucking weird. I don't know how to fucking explain it better than that. Very strange predicament. I'm gonna pull this back, plug in. Yeah, oh man. That fire, like it hit me in the face with a bunch of smoke, and now it's hitting me with all that heat, and I'm like, all right. Hey Paul, glad to see you burning stuff in your new pad. In your opinion, what's the thing with the Trump cult? Have you seen anything like it before? And what do you think will happen to them when he's gone? I mean, they'll find somebody else eventually. Like, yes, I've seen shit like this before. Like, I've honestly seen shit like this on both sides of the aisle. I mean, there was like an Obama cult, and still is. You know, there's like this cult of people who think that Obama. See, I'm getting lost in my own house again. There's like, I went in the wrong door. There's a cult of people that think that Obama was like one of the greatest presidents in the fucking history of the United States. Blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? And it's just like, that's provably, demonstrably, stupidly false. But whatever, you know what I mean? There are people like that about Bill Clinton. You know what I mean? They thought like, oh, Bill Clinton, greatest fucking president ever, fucking greatest. And it's like, what? Okay. I mean, he's better than some of the ones we've had. I'm not going to lie about that, but Bill Clinton wasn't no saint. Just like the ones we love, we'll sing a song about that singing. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Just like the ones we love. What? Who sings that song? Is that Heart? I don't know either. There we go. We're plugged in now. Jalapeno. Yeah, that last log was probably a misstep, but that's okay. I don't think we needed that last log. You should put one of them comfy chairs back there, man. When you sit in that hard pan chair. Well, I got you a Biker Dave chair.
No, I didn't need no Biker Dave chair.
Whoops, I dropped you. I straight out dropped you, fucks. Right on your head. How'd you like that shit? Just like the one-winged dove that sings a song without the singing. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Anywho. Just like the one-winged duck quacks a song about him quacking and saying, quack, quack, quack. Good. Well, it's almost afternoon now. It is afternoon now. It's got to be afternoon. Yeah. Well, no, it's still, well, technically. Are you actually addicted to cigarettes? Yes. I've been addicted to cigarettes since I was 14 years old.
I think it's pretty impossible to not be addicted to cigarettes.
Yeah, nobody has like a little like every once in a while habit with cigarettes. I've never really met a person that you're either a smoker or you're not, you know what I mean? Like, I guess I've known some people that like only when they drink they'll have a couple smokes or whatever, and then they don't have a habit. But most people that pick up, they don't put down, you know? That's just the way it is, man. Switch to pipe tobacco would make you look... Dude, we're actually considering it. getting a couple of like pipes that we really like the design of, and getting some really nice vanilla pipe tobacco, and just sitting out here and enjoying that instead of this. The thing with a pipe is like once you've lit a pipe, you're committed. You've got to sit there for like an hour and smoke the pipe. You know what I mean? But I like that. I like that, Holmes. I like that. I just quit smoking, but I'm pretty sure I'll start once again once I drink any booze. That was the hardest thing for me. Like when I was trying to quit, back in my 20s, which I wish I would have been successful in doing, because man, it would have been nice to not smoke all the way up through my 30s and now into my 40s and shit. But that was the hardest part, because like in my 20s, that's all my friends did was drink and smoke and party and shit. And I liked that stuff, and so I'd do okay at home. I'd have my Nicorette gum and shit, and I'd go to work, and I'd fucking sit out on the porch on my fucking breaks with a big old wad of Nicorette in my lip, hating life. But I was getting through it, and then like on the weekends, my fucking friends would call up and be like, "Hey, Paul, you want to come do some drinking, man? We can fucking do." And I'd go, "Yeah," and then I'd go there, and like I'd get 3 or 4 drinks in me, and I'd see a couple of my friends stepping out back to have a smoke, and I'd just be like, "Fuck it, man."
You ever go to a smoking restaurant? Or you do it in the restaurant?
I didn't grow up around that. California has almost never allowed that. Like here in California, you can have a smoking bar. But it has to be specially like zoned and shit. But there's no such thing as lighting up in a restaurant in California.
There's an active one in Mississippi, 1-to-1. Like
yeah.
A couple of years ago, you just right at the table.
Yeah. But the first smoking restaurant I went to was when I went to Arizona. And it was when I first went down there with my dad. He was dropping me off with my friend Rodney. And we went into a Denny's or some shit, and Rodney just lights up at the table. And me and my dad were like, "Fuck, what are you doing?" And he said, "Look." He pointed at some old lady sitting in a booth like not far from us smoking a big old fucking ashy cigarette. And I was like, "What is this?" It was like my fucking Jack Skellington moment, you know? I was like, "What's this? What's this? There's smokers in the house. What's this? What's this? They're smoking with their mouths. What's this? They don't have to step out into the cold. They're just smoking at their booths. What's this?" It's like, oh, okay. I'll send you a pipe kit and some sealed tobacco tins if you're interested. I'm a pipe club that's all about sharing. There's a whole culture to it. Well, hit me up on Twitter if you've got one, and maybe I'll work something out with you. I'm not going to give you my address and shit, so I'd have to get a P.O. box or some shit, but I'm interested. I might just...
BFF has like a P.O. box in the description. I don't know if you've ever used it.
I don't think we've ever used it, but I don't even think we have that P.O. box anymore, to be quite frank with you.
Taken out.
Probably should be. People have probably sent like all kinds of shit to it. It just gets returned to sender. But yeah, no, I don't know. Maybe I'll set up a little P.O. box over here or some shit. And I'll give you that. Because, yeah, I mean, maybe I'll just pick your brain about it, honestly, because I can order a little kit. You just tell me what to get, you know? What do you think, like, for...
From?
Yeah.
The one I went to was garbage.
That's the thing, is, like, we need to know, like, what are the places we can go to order this shit? What's a good little starter kit for us? What do we need to clean the pipes? How do we maintain them and all that shit? Because we don't know shit about it. But I think both of us want to try it. Like a little his and hers thing. Sit out here and smoke pipes together, so... I'm definitely pick your brain about it, so hit me up somewhere else. I'll do that. What's up with the pipe people shilling it all the time? Everyone I know who likes pipes is also shilling it. Maybe it's because they're really good. Like, I know they smell really good. The only pipe smoker that I was ever really exposed to for long periods of time when I was a kid was my drama teacher's husband. When he was there on off days when the school was closed and shit, and he was building the sets and stuff, he would just smoke his pipe. Like, nobody cared. Pipe tobacco isn't like cigarette tobacco. It doesn't linger in the air like that. I mean, you can't smoke it inside all day, but he was in a big auditorium, and he'd have his little pipe going, and hardly any smoke comes out of it. He'd just puff it every once in a while, but the smell was like this rich, deep, chocolatey, almost vanilla. Very weird, sweet-smelling kind of thing, and he It looked like he enjoyed the fuck out of it. You know what I mean? And that's all there is to it. So.
I told you about my grandpa, just shirtless, pipe in his mouth all day.
Corn cob too, right? Yeah. He liked a corn cob pipe. See?
Himself.
That's dope.
He owned one shirt, just one.
That's what I'm talking about, man. So yeah, I'm interested in that. Never smoked cigs, but love pipe tobaccos. Whole world of qualities and flavors like cigars, but way better. Yeah. I got a corn cob pipe I smoke out of when I'm feeling rustic. Dude, I got to get a couple corn cob. I know they don't last forever, but maybe that's what we do, is we just find a place that makes some good corn cob pipes, and we just order like 10 of them. And then we go through those, and we keep them coming. When we're done with them, we throw them in the fire pit, you know. Grab a fresh corn cob. I like it, dude.
Or we save the corn cob for like Thanksgiving or something.
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah, we'll get a couple corn cobs, and that'll be what we do on Thanksgiving. That'll be our little fucking quarantine tradition over here. Smoke a corn cob pipe. No, I like it, dude. But I'm really clueless on it. So, yeah, if you hit me up on Twitter or whatever, I'll pick your brain about it. You don't got to send me shit. Just tell me, like, what kind of little kit I should start with. Corn cobs are a cheap, affordable way to get started. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's kind of what I'm thinking we'll do. Because we're just trying it out. Maybe we don't like it, you know. But if we just buy a couple corn cob pipes
you don't
for
want a $50 oak pipe and then hate it.
Right, yeah. You don't want to spend a bunch of money on a pipe and then find out you fucking hate smoking your pipe, you know what I mean? So get a corn cob pipe or two for each of us, and get a few tins of different types of pipe tobacco, and learn like how to light it right and how to keep it cherried up and shit, how to pack it, because that's all, you got to pack it down in there in a certain way. So we got to learn all that shit. I'll shoot you a message, mate. It's really easy to get into. Dope. Well, thanks, Phoebe.
We got two sources now.
Hey, yeah, both of you hit me up, because I want to pick brains. I'm into it. I want to sit out here and like smoke a fucking corn cob pipe and talk to you guys.
We ain't in the South.
Because I'm feeling straight. Yeah, exactly. We ain't in the South no more. We're out in the middle of nowhere. We're mountain folk now. We're mountaineers now. We need to start acting like it out here, baby. Yeah. We have been. We've been burning a fire morning, noon, and night, just like the mountaineers of old would in the cold winter. Now we got to get our corn cob fucking pipes.
Get some flannels.
Got a rocking chair on a porch. Yeah, we got to get some flannels too, for show. I got beanies coming out of my ass, though, so we're covered there.
Yeah, get them boots.
Oh, yeah. Got them boots. I've got a good pair of boots. You know, I got my Timbs that Scotty bought me.
We got to get like the hiking slip-on kind.
Nah, dude, ain't no pioneers making no hiking slip-on shoes. You get boots. What we need to get is some cowboy boots. Yeah. Need to go down to a boot barn. I don't even know if there is one around here, but if there is, we'll look it up. We'll go to a boot barn and get fitted for some goddamn cowboy boots. Why not?
Yeah, snakeskin.
Why not? Get a 12 gauge and some cowboy boots and just sit out here on our porch and smoke corn cob pipes and wait for somebody to come by and say some shit.
All you need is that rack.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying. I'm liking this, dude. Rustic Paul. Mountain Man Paul, dude. Fuck yeah. It's time, dude. Whatever. Bluegrass music, yeah.
Your little banjo.
Yeah, learn to pick the banjo. You know what I want? I don't want a banjo. I want a juice harp.
Oh, yeah?
You know that one that they put in their mouth and it's like boing, and you could get a big jug or two of them with XXX written on them, and you'd be like, hoo, 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 bang, 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 hoo, hoo. Yeah, well, you already do have two big old jugs, but they don't make that noise when I blow on them. Or you get a washboard.
Yeah.
I'll be a hell yeah, dude.
I was gonna hate it.
He'll love it eventually. He'll come running to that juice harp eventually. But yeah, you're right. He will be scared of it at first, and the washboard. Yeah, you could. Oh yeah, you do the spoons. You know. Hell yeah, dude. Or you could just get the banjo and be the cool one. Paul leveled up. Yeah, dude. I got a new job class, dude. Job class unlocked. Mountaineer. You got banjo, washboard, juice harp, pipe, tobacco, burn barrel. Dueling banjos is hot fire, and I don't care what anybody else says. Dude, it is. Because it starts out all slow. Like, I could do that. Because it's like... Oh, yeah, 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 dude. I want to learn to do the fucking D. Ray White, the mountain shuffle. I'm working all day and in fear for my life, and the sheriff wants to kill me because I fucked his wife. I'm going straight to hell. Hell yeah, dude. Yep, that's it. You got in trouble because you wore a balaclava to a store? I mean, that does look pretty fucking intimidating, though. Pretty much every villain in every movie wears a balaclava, dude. So you gotta fucking... Gotta get something that's not quite a balaclava, you know?
Why do people fight the mask so much? You can have a dope bandana.
Yeah, get a bandana. Coming with that loaded fist fury, doing what I do, and I'm spitting in your face, cause I'm dominating you. Sorry, that's a Hank the Third song, so I didn't make it up. Sorry to trigger your memories of a, a friend that got shot by a sheriff for the same reason. So what's the area around your home like? Stores, eateries, natural beauty? Not a lot of natural beauty. And yeah, there are stores and yeah, there are eateries within delivery range, and that's all I really care about. I'm not going to tell you specifics. I'm not dumb. My roommate puked on my bandana and it got tossed immediately. Well, yeah, because a bandana costs like 99 cents. It's not worth washing out a puke bandana. Just throw that shit away. Are there bison? Oh, yeah, free-range bison. We got a big one that comes right through our property line here all the time, man. Bison constantly.
Yeah, just leaps the fence.
Big old fucker just jumps the fence right back here and just feeds on this grass. Big old buffalo. Send a basic guidance pics of the sort of corn pipe I use. I assume you might already know my username on Twitter. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. I will check it out. And I will take your recommendations, and I want to get some corn cob pipes. Yo. We all know you moved to start your cult. So?
It ain't illegal.
Yeah, ain't nothing illegal about starting a cult.
You just can't do them tax fraud.
Yeah, I can't do no tax fraud, and I can't do no, like, sexual enslavement. I can't do no, like, if you leave, I'll kill you type of shit. But as long as I'm just doing, like, a normal-ass normal cult. No, thank you, baby. You get people running around in ATVs and dirt bikes. There's a dude out here that owns one of those, like... I've just only recently started seeing them. They weren't around back in my day. Shit looked a lot more clunky, but they've got these like really high-end ATV like go-kart type of things that look all kind of almost military-ish. You guys know what I'm talking about? Like big old roll cage over them, and like really like you can tell they paid probably like 20 grand for them and shit. Like it's a whole ass car, but a dune buggy. Does that make any sense? Have you guys seen these things? There's a dude around here that has one of those that tools up and down this street sometimes. He's on his way somewhere to tear up the wilderness. They're called side-by-sides? Okay. Yeah, I'm a little out of the four-wheeler game for show.
Or on those three-wheelers.
Well, yeah, I grew up on them three-wheelers. And I grew up driving a fucking go-kart that my dad made by chopping off the back end of a big fucking trike, street-legal trike, and putting the front end of an Odyssey go-kart on it. And that thing was fucking insane. You'd hit the gas and the fucking front wheels would come up. The fucking thing was crazy, but I don't know about these new motherfuckers. I ain't been in one yet. They're called side-by-sides. They're super common around here. They usually have engines a good bit bigger than an ATV. They can go quite a bit faster and are sometimes road legal. Yeah. Yeah, that's the kind of thing, I think, that we're talking about. It's definitely a two-seater, like, little go-kart thing, but it looks souped up and fucking carbon fiber and all expensive and shit. Like, I'm fine having, like, maybe just, like, a little quad, you know, one of these days. That'd be kind of fun. I'd have to have a bigger piece of property than this to really justify having a quad, probably. But if I you know, ended up in a place where I got, like, 10 or 12 acres or so, fuck yeah, dude. You get a little quad, tool around, make a little quad path through your shit so you can get around your property. That'd be dope. But yeah, an acre and a half, acre and a quarter, not really enough to justify having a quad. Well, three-wheel is illegal here. Like, I don't even think you can get them anymore in America. They banned them. But when I was a kid, that's what we had. We had two of them. We had a green one and a red one. The green one was the souped-up one. The red one was my mom's, and it was like more of like a tool-around one. And then my dad got this green one that was all fucking like... I tore ass on that shit. There's a picture of me at 6 years old holding my sister, who's 4, in my lap with one hand on the wheel. And my mom told me to stop so she could take a picture because I was tooling around the yard in it, doing donuts and shit. At 6. That shit's in my blood, man. We did some crazy four-wheeling shit. My dad built a big Willys Jeep, rebuilt like a World War II Willys Jeep that had bullet holes in the fucking body of it. Raised it up, put big, they were called Monster Mutter tires on it. So it was like a raised up, kind of like monster Jeep. It wasn't like full monster truck size, but a big ass fucking burly, built like a tank because it basically was a tank Jeep. And we'd take that shit to the Pismo Dunes in California and just tool up and down the fucking just... He'd get me out there and let me drive it. I'd go up the side of the dune. That fucking thing could eat it up. I miss doing that shit, man. That shit's in my blood. I went on a four-wheeling trip with my mom one time where there was a river crossing. And the river started coming in. Because, you know, those Willys Jeeps, they've got, like, cloth doors. You have to snap on the top and the doors. And so, like, the river just started coming in on our feet. And she didn't panic. She knew exactly what to do. She got traction and pulled it right through. That shit was fucking crazy. It's like, whoa. Dope. But Paul didn't have a pool growing up. But you see, this is before my parents got divorced. Had to declare bankruptcy because their union contract was shit. And then, you know, then the fucking lameness began. But yeah, for about the first 8 years of my life, I got to taste the last little bits of the working class. When people that worked at factories could afford fun things and could go on fun vacations and could take time off and accrue vacation, and because they bargained for that shit. I got to taste a little bit of that. Wasn't rich. But my parents had the money to do little projects like my dad building that Jeep. And to take trips 2-3 times a year to the beach or to Disneyland once a year or whatever the fuck. So that's one of the reasons why I'm so pro-union, is because I got to taste the last little dying gasp of that. And I'm telling you, my childhood up until that point was pretty idyllic, dude. Living out there in the middle of nowhere, having like 2 or 3 neighbors, big plot of land that was all ours, Could go shooting, could go four-wheeling out on our property, loading that shit up on a trailer, tow it down to the fucking dunes, tow it up into the mountains and go four-wheeling. It was dope.
Go frogging.
Frogging, yeah, we used to go frog gigging. Yep. Frog gigging, man. That's a pretty it's dirty pool way to hunt, dude, because you just take a flashlight and a big trident, basically. A special, well, it's not big, it's a small trident. And you shine the flashlight in the frog's eyes, which causes them to freeze up. And then you just have somebody kind of slowly walk up to them and stick them. Just put them in the sack. Animal torture, well, they die. You kill them, so it's not really torture. But it is a dirty way to fucking hunt, for sure. Why did you bury the frogs, Paul? I don't know, man. Horrible. I was a horrible kid, man. Kids do shit like that. I didn't think about it like that. I didn't think I was perpetrating a mass genocide on frogs or anything. We were just having fun, you know? And
kids are pretty sadistic.
yeah, I mean, a lot of it's just ignorance about like the impermanence of life and all of that shit, and like you know, like how other things can feel, like that empathy that we learn at a young age that human beings feel pain and misery and sadness, but we look at a frog, you know, and it's a different thing than us, and it might as well be a tree, yeah, a tree or a rock or some shit, right? I never did anything like, thank goodness, I had no friends or never participated in anything like torturing cats but I've heard about that shit happening where people tie two cats' tails together and make them fight each other. My grandpa told me a story about how he would catch feral cats, tie their tails together, and throw them over a clothesline. So they would hang there and fight each other until one of them won and killed the other one, and then he'd let the other one go. Just like horrible, cruel shit, you know what I mean? But my grandpa was also from a completely different fucking world. He lived through the Great Depression. He lived through the Dust Bowl. He lived through World War II. He served in World War II. It's a harder world, and life was cheap back then. There wasn't much room for empathy for other living things.
That's dope, Lord Duck. They eat, I guess, chickens and ducks eat frogs.
Yeah. Good for them, dude. Eat them frogs. Sounds like something a psychopath would do. Maybe he was a psychopath. I don't know. Just like I said, life was cheap. People didn't have, like, there wasn't a lot of room for common empathy between human beings, let alone human beings and other species at that time. You know, a dog was just something that you had around, that you fed when you thought about it, and you kicked when it bothered you, you know what I mean? Dinor is like a little person, you know, the way we treat him. It's like a little king around here. The prince.
Ask him permission.
Yeah, we ask him permission for things, and we let him go first through the doors and all that shit, you know? He's like a little fucking prince.
Cricket. Oh boy, Cricket. King Cricket.
King Cricket. You know what I mean? Need we say more? His domain is the house, you know, and all that he can survey from it. Who am I talking to? My fiance, Amelia. I know a guy who catches rats and pours boiling water on them. That's pretty fucking horrible. Why? Like, there's humane ways to kill rats. Why would you pour boiling water on them? That makes no fucking sense. You roasted a manatee alive? Okay. Different kind of roasting, though. Lots of pets get treated better than humans. I don't know how to feel about that. I think it's natural. It's like the way it is for me. I'll explain how it is for me, and it's probably the same way for a lot of people, right? I'm far away from my family. My fiance is far away from her family. We're going to move around a lot, and we're always probably going to be far away from our family. So what we have is us, right, really, at the end of the day. Now, we call our family, and we visit our family when we can and shit, but we have to deal with each other every day. And we have two other little members of our family that share that with us, Cricket and Dinor. a kitty and a dog, and that's what I care about. That is my core, right? And doesn't mean I don't care about my family. It's just that's my first concern, you know. And I think it makes sense that people treat their dogs and cats and pets like that, especially empathetic folk like me. I have an overdrive of empathy, so you know it's very easy for me to anthropomorphize Dinor and Cricket and to paint my human intentions onto them. But I can tell you one thing: they live lives of comfort and opulence, and compared to most dogs and cats in the world, you know what I mean? So there's that. When you were talking about how you would marry Ashley, I knew you wanted to get hitched for life. How you would marry Ashley? That must have been years ago, dude. Must have been years ago. Tell it to the frogs. Yep. All right, dude. My ass is dragging. You're one of the people that was banned that got unbanned in the unban wave, and now you're getting banned again. Your questions are just kind of dumb as fuck, bro. So get better with it. Who proposed the marriage first? I proposed to her, and she accepted. Wonder if I was ever banned. I don't know. That's a good question. Sometimes you don't know, you know. I think YouTube, like, does it shadow ban people?
I don't think it tells them nothing.
So they just keep
They
typing
can
in the
tell
chat.
that when you do a death stream and they can't see their messages.
Right, right. Asking stupid, fucking impertinent questions and shit gets you banned. Don't ask me a fucking question that you wouldn't ask anybody else that you don't know. How's that? About my personal life or about my personal habits and shit. And don't give me any commentary on those things that you wouldn't give somebody on the fucking street. That's all I ask is the common respect that you give other people on the street because you don't want to get punched in the fucking mouth. My version of punching you in the fucking mouth is banning you. You know, the fact that you two can be together for pretty much 24 hours a day is a strong testament to your relationship. My girlfriend of 2 years moved in with me and we fought constantly until we ended it. I've been through that before. I've been through relationships where I cohabitated with a person where it was nothing but discord and disharmony most of the time. And I've been through various shades of that too, where, you know, there were really good periods and really bad periods. Amelia and I don't go through those. Like, we talk to each other when shit gets, you know, when one of us feels wronged or hard done by or has an issue, we bring it to the other person. And we address those things and we don't let them fester. We don't fight. We don't call each other names. We treat each other with respect and with dignity. And that's, you know, that's new to me. I'm used to having these really volatile, volcano-like, kind of outburst-prone relationships. And I grew up with that. And I think a lot of the people that I've dated in the past grew up with that. And that's all they know. And, you know, Amelia kind of taught me a different way when she came into my life. Because she's, I don't know, she just got a calmness that radiates out. Like, animals love her for that immediately. Because she just radiates a sense of acceptance and love and warmth and calm. And it's a great counteractive agent to my more spiky personality. It works. It fits together really well for us. You know, nobody's perfect and nobody's, you know, but that's the thing is like really living with somebody and committing to a long-term cohabitation and relationship with that person is really more about accepting their flaws than it is about being enamored of their good qualities. Their good qualities shine through all the time, and their flaws are things that you have to learn to live with. And if you can't, then that's what causes disharmony and discord in a relationship, at least in my experience. No. I acknowledge my role in all of the failures of my previous relationships. I'm hot headed, I'm spiky, I'm moody. I have days where I just don't want to talk. And I don't consider this talking, I consider this performative talking. It's cathartic in a way, and it can feel like conversational. But there might be days where I want to do this, but I don't want to talk to another person, or I don't want to spend a whole lot of time conversating. And in the past, people that I've been with have had a hard time with that because they see it as a, how do I put this? I'd rather have those people say the words, but they see it as an insult to them that I spend time working and talking and sharing my life and times with people that I don't know, but then can't talk to them. And that's just the way I am. Personal interaction is different from this kind of more performative stuff for me, always has been. And there are days where I'm feeling too spiky to be around other people. I know I'm going to be mean. I know I'm going to snap. I know I'm going to say some shit that I don't mean. And so I sequester myself away when I'm feeling like that because I don't want to do that to Dinor. I don't want to do that to Amelia. I don't want to do that to anybody who might be a part of my life. And so that's how I deal with it. And it's really part about that. It's really part of that ambivert mentality of mine, where I have these bursts of very extroverted personality, and then I have these bursts of wanting to cave up, and be in the darkness and do my own thing for a while. Dude, Dinor's loving this out here. He's soaking up the sun, man. He really is. Let me see. I'll show you if I can here. There he is. Look at him. Look at him go. You soaking up the sun, D? Do you like it? Do you like a little warm sun on the deck? Or what? He's like, I don't want to be filmed. I'm not ready for my close-up, Dad. How old is Dinor? Dinor is 4 and change. He'll be 5 coming up here pretty soon. I think he turns 5 in December or January, if I'm not mistaken. It might be February. It's in the next 3 months. He'll be a 5-year-old. He has to have a little sweater. He gets too cold. So we give him a little sweater. Because he gets too cold. Only 5, yeah. He's a youngster still. Basically like a 30-year-old for a dog, you know what I mean? He's coming into his own. Coming into his own as a puppo. I hear Led Zeppelin now. Dun 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 dun. Yep. Playing what's that song called? I am a traveler of both time and space. Kashmir. Had to do a little bit of the lyrics to remember. Yeah. Oh, there you go. I beat you guys to it, but only just. I like doing these phone streams because it seems like there's very little lag between when I talk and when you guys hear me. And even the desktop streams, even when they're set to ultra low latency, it feels like there's a little bit more of a chonk. We have to type. That's true. I like that though. I like that, Holmes. I like that. I do have better internet than where I was before, 100%. Not only that, but my setup is way better. The internet drops in to the wall of my studio. So my computer is wired now, and my studio is actually very central to the house, so it's a good spot for it. So the wireless coverage is really good in the house now. Anything is better than the swamp internet. I agree. Cumdunt, dude. I give up, dude. Cumdunt is dead. I died again last night. I'm salty. I was trying to make it to fucking. Me and Jason are playing fucking EverQuest together again. And Cumdunt is dead, dude. Cumdunt had to go, dude. I made a big ogre named Cumdunt that I was trying to get out of his starting area to a better starting area so I could meet up with Jason's character, and it was like, oof. Yeah, dude, new plan, exactly. New plan. Start fresh. I think I'm gonna play a bard, dude. Bard duos well with everybody, and it's a good solo character, and I can play a human bard and not gimp myself, because I think they have an Infravision song, so I can, you know, I can be a human bard. I'm trying to think what else can be a bard. I think wood elves and half elves. So I'll pick that, whatever race I think is good. I think wood elves get like forage, which is really good. I don't have to worry about buying food and drink. Yeah, but it'll be a good duo with your monk for sure. And I'll be able to start right there in the same area as you if I pick a human or a half elf. I think half elf bards are pretty good. Would you stream EQ? Maybe once we get up and running. Like right now, what we're doing, the most interesting thing would be the banter between me and Jason. But I kind of like to keep that between me and him because the rules don't apply. We're old friends, so it's like we can say the gamer words if we want to, and you know what I mean. I want to be able to hypocritically say my gamer words every once in a while. And when it's just me and Jason playing, I can do that. You know, if I was streaming, I can't use I can't use I can't be funny. You know, you know what I mean. Can't use the funny gamer words. I tried Elder Scrolls Online for about 10 minutes, and I was just like, I can't do this, bro. I can't do these modern MMOs where there's no risk and there's no reward, and it's all fucking just like laid out. Like that's why I like EverQuest is the complexity, and it's like a hard game. It's a hard, complex game. You have to really be engaged to play it, and I miss that about MMOs, and I just won't do it, dude. I just can't do it. I try to get fucking Jason into Eve. Because if Jason would get into Eve, me and him could do some crazy shit, but he just won't play Eve. So EverQuest it is. Eve is like that too. You can't fuck around in Eve. You get blown up. You know, you gotta know what you're fucking doing. I'm willing to fucking mentor Jason. And give him a bunch of money too, so he doesn't have to do the fucking grind where he's shooting at asteroids for hours and hours. He can just buy himself some cool shit. Jason don't want to play no Eve though. Tell us an MMO story. All right. Well, I just mentioned Eve. So I used to be a part of Goon Fleet back in the day. This is like in probably like 2008, 2007, which is, Goon Swarm, the something awful gaming community, right? And I was part of Dreadit. So I was part of the Eve Reddit community. And Dreadit was the name of the actual corporation I was in. But we were in the Goon Swarm Alliance, so we were basically goons. And we had a little chunk of space that was ours that we were allowed to make money on, basically. You could mine, you could kill NPC pirates and get rich, you could do exploration out there and blah, 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 blah. But the problem was like I wanted to do all that shit, and I got out there and I got to for about a week. There was about a week of relative peace where we were left alone and then all of a sudden it was like all hands on deck. And I had a shipping character. Like my character was trained in not like the big freighters or whatever, like the big giant mega freighters, but I could ship a lot of shit. And so it was like immediately I was conscripted to fucking move a bunch of shit to the front, a bunch of ammo, and move my stuff to the front so that I could fly an interceptor and help out because there was a big battle going on. And my life became a fucking living hell, bro. It was like, what am I doing? I was playing a game before, and now I'm like I'm in the military. It was crazy. Like if I was online and shit, and I wasn't in an op, I would get booted out of my guild or my corp, I guess, in Eve. So I like whenever I got online, I was crossing my fingers that there wasn't a battle going on because, like I would just go in there and lose my. Now they reimburse you for your ships and the shit that you lose, but it was just like that's not how I like to play the game. I'm not a big giant space battle guy. I'm a little small skirmish type of guy. I'm a scout. I like scouting, but they had their scouts all lined out, so I was basically relegated to like moving ammo to the front. And I remember I was on my way back from one of those campaigns. They finally released us to go back to our space, and I was so happy. I loaded up the ships that I could. I repackaged the ships that I could into my little shipping thing, and I got 2 jumps from my home system and got snagged by one of our enemies that was deep in our territory, and they blew up all my shit. And then I quit Eve for 6 months. And when I came back, I was no longer in Dreadit, and I had to escape. I quit Eve for 6 months. I was like, I can't, dude, this is too fucking poetic. I just got back from doing the shit I don't like to do, and I got all the shit that I need to do the shit I do like to do in my fucking hauler, and 2 jumps from my home system, I get blown up. Bullshit. Didn't this happen on stream? No, I didn't. No, I streamed a long time ago with a friend of mine named Captain Tree. We did this thing called Risky Trades where it was like we would take my hauler. He would fill us hauler up with some trade good that we could sell for tons of money out in really dangerous space. And I would scout ahead for him and try and save him, but eventually we got jumped and blown up, and it was fun. But I haven't streamed a whole lot of Eve. I did a little mining recently on Eve while I was on a desktop stream a month or so ago, I think. Just in the background while I talked. DFF on a national labor strike and what that may look like. Well, TJ and I and Scotty have had long conversations about this. I've had long conversations about it. I just don't know that there's anything to say that we haven't said already. I don't know if formalizing in an episode makes sense. When we've done tons and tons of episodes where it's come up as a topic, we've covered it on Flash Fried and a bunch of our other little side properties. It's come up on fucking the Grease Trap a bunch of times. It just doesn't, you know what I mean? I don't know that there's enough meat on that bone to do something that wouldn't be just a bunch of repetition at this point, unfortunately. Like a DFF on the history of the labor movement would be pretty cool. So I may add that to my list of things. I think that'd be pretty cool. I'm still of the mind that Elite Dangerous streams will be a hit. That game is so chill. It is chill, that's for sure. Well, I feel like the morning has passed and that the afternoon is upon me, and I should probably move myself inside and start prepping for the week to come. So I'm going to end the stream here. Thank you guys for chilling. Thanks for watching. As always, it's been real. It's been fun. It hasn't been real fun.